What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the DFS Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, Luke, and MMA Monk break down the card from a DFS perspective and give our predictions on the fights as well. Also, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out. And as always, we'll be going through the fight to target, the fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GPP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, favorite dart throw. We'll talk about how we did with our lineups last week. We'll talk about our new lineups for this week, and then answer any questions you guys have and give our final picks there. So, as always, I am here with the guys, Weezy, Monk, and Luke. Weezy, we'll start with you. You looking forward to this card?
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, from a betting perspective, I'm definitely looking forward to the card. From a DFS perspective, I find this one very confusing. I had a hard time going through and answering each of the questions that we answered in this show. So I'm not exactly sure how you guys are going to chop this one up, but I'm really anxious to hear it because I had some problems this week.
Yeah, I think it's a very challenging card on DraftKings, so we'll see how we do there. Monk, how about you? You looking forward to this card?
What's up, boys? Absolutely, man. UFC London, we've been talking about it for a few weeks now. It is finally here. I'm very excited for it. Some super exciting top-tier guys, but also some interesting underdogs. So it is going to be very clear that you need to pick some good quality people for your lineup construction this week. So hopefully we can help you out.
Yes, sir. And then last but not least, we have Luke. Luke, you looking forward to the card?
Yeah, it's fun for sure. Back in the UK for the first time in a second, full stadium show outside of, Abu Dhabi or anything, I think from a fan perspective, it's obviously a lot of fun. Those fans are rowdy. They like to bring it. We got a lot of the hometown fighters on the slate as well. So yeah, man, I'm pumped.
Sounds good. Let's shout out the chat and then we'll get started. Chris, what is up saying? Oi, already smashed like. Appreciate that. Respect the grinders. Thank you so much, Chris. We have the Gaming Wolf saying, hey, everyone, let's get it done. I agree. Philip in the chat as well saying, getting money. Yes. And Chris saying, going to be such a fun card. Can't wait. And I totally agree with that. And we got Tim in the chat hanging out. What's up, fellas? What is up, Tim? All right. I say we get right into it and we will start with the fight to target. And we will start with you, Weezy. What is your fight to target for UFC London?
Yeah, so this was a hard question to answer, but I was looking at the whole slate, and I kind of get the feeling like I remember a couple of weeks ago when you asked me who my favorite dog was. I said I liked everybody between 7,300 and 8,000, and like this week I hate everybody below 8,000. So it's like I'm trying to figure out what the best way to construct lineups is, and try to figure out how much of that upper salary I can get. And the fight that I'm going to target this week is Krylov versus Craig, because it's the fifth best fight doesn't go to decision on the slate. And it's the most affordable favorite in the top 5 fight doesn't go to decision lines. I think you're going to kind of need to be in the middle of the pack this week. I don't think you're going to be able to spend too much above 9,000 if you don't think that any of these underdogs are going to win. And if you look up and down this card, there are a couple of closely lined fights, but there's a lot of minus 250 and above priced favorites, and you're really only going to be able to get 2 or 3 of them in your lineup without having to punt a couple of times. So I think if you target Krylov and Craig here, you can start in the middle, get a couple of other mid-range guys, and then maybe you can go up and get a couple of those higher priced options and punt. But Krylov, Craig, when you look at the wins between these guys, it's some absurd number, like 97% of their combined wins have been inside the distance, and over 80% of their combined losses. These guys are both finishers. They both score a lot of points. Right now, Krylov in his UFC career is scoring over 4 DraftKings points a minute, and he's allowing almost 3.5. So both these guys are action fighters, and whoever wins should wind up optimal. So I want to target that one.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And by the way, the dog is barking. That means maybe I should up my exposure to Paul Craig there. But yeah, I wanted the same thing. Krylov, Craig, you mentioned a bunch of great points. And I also like you mentioned that, I think a lot of people are going to play a lot of stars and scrubs. I mean, this 9K range is one of the most stacked 9K ranges I've seen all year. And I'm going to be doing a lot of that. It's just, I think you can get a little bit different playing a lot in this mid-range, like this Krylov and Craig fight. So I don't think it's going to be, I think it's be high owned, but not like as high owned as it really should be. And you mentioned the finish rates. Paul Craig, a 100% finish rate in both his wins and losses. I think somebody gets finished here. I think Craig is one of the more intriguing dogs on the slate as well. So yeah, this one was a pretty easy one for me. I like Krylov, Craig. for this fight to target. Monk, how about you? What fight are you targeting for this week?
Yeah, that was my number one. I will switch it up, but I absolutely love that fight to A, finish inside the distance, and B, like Uncle Weezy said, the winner probably going to make the optimal lineup, especially for Krylov. The numbers are insane. He scores over 111 per win, something crazy like that. I will call an audible and go to Mike Grundy and Makwan Amirkhani just for the takedown wrestling upside, you guys. Mike Grundy is 1-2 in the UFC, did score over 100 points in his one win. Averages 1.26 takedown points per minute. That is fourth highest on the entire card. His control time points are something to be desired, and especially that striking game. But he is scoring a lot of points, especially in that win. The $8,500 salary, when it wins, makes the optimal lineup 62.5%, you guys. This is a fantastic salary to play. On the Amirkhani side, 7,700. He doesn't score quite as prolifically as Mike Grundy does, averaging only 94.24 points over his 6 UFC wins. Has not looked good as of late, 1-4 in his last 5. So you know he's going to come out fighting even harder than he usually does to get that UFC win. When the $7,700 salary wins, it makes the optimal 61.54% of the time, just under its cohort, in this case, the 8,500. I love this salary pair for DraftKings. I will be playing both sides of this fight. Probably a bit more exposure to Grundy because I do think he wins. Amirkhani's chin is just super questionable at this point. So I think Grundy wins, but I think he puts up a lot of points, especially on the ground. So that's what I'll be focusing on. And if it doesn't go that way, Amirkhani also has a ground game you can work with that works for DraftKings. So Grundy, Amirkhani, give me that one.
Sounds good. I like it. And then Luke, how about you? What is your fighter target for this week?
Yeah, I'm going Krylov and Craig as well. Don't want to parrot everything both you boys said, but yeah, Krylov 96% in W's and finished in 75% of his losses. Paul Craig's only seen the scorecards once in 20 pro fights. I think the levels on the striking between the two are actually pretty evident. Krylov probably body bags him standing, but where the fight gets fun, is on the ground, where Krylov's shown to be actually a pretty good offensive grappler, and we have seen Paul Craig actually submitted, and then he just got laid on by Shogun for like 2 rounds. So I think people might be sleeping on the grappling upside for Krylov in this fight, but at the same time, he's shown some very flaky things defensively in Paul Craig's submission specialist. He's not a guy that you can make small mistakes against. Ask Magomed Ankalaev about that. So I do think 3 of 4 finish boxes are checked on this fight. I think it could bust in the sense that, they just kind of stare at each other, and Krylov doesn't throw the historic volume he usually does on the feet, but I think that'd be pretty uncharacteristic. So I like someone to go out. It's most likely Craig, but or I should say to Weezy's point earlier, there's not a ton of dogs that I like on this card. I'm still not in love with Craig overall as a dog, but you can't ignore his upside in a win. I mean, both these guys just score ridiculously well on DraftKings. So I think this is the best fight to target on the slate easily.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Looks like we're all on the same page there. Let's move on to our fight to fade. Monk, we will start with you. What is your fight to fade for this week?
I'll go ahead and give you Arnold Allen and Dan Hooker, mostly because I think Arnold Allen is going to win this fight. He is 17-1, undefeated in the UFC, 8-0, hasn't fought in almost a year, and Dan Hooker may be fighting too much lately, but dropping down to featherweight, where he has made weight before. People are all freaking out all over the internet seeing pictures of him, but he has fought at featherweight several times in the past. I'm fading this because listen to this, guys. Arnold Allen scores 2.26 points a minute, 66 points per win in over 8 DraftKings wins. Like, he is pretty much whooping up on his opponents for the most part, but he is not scoring well. Never have I seen this. Over 8 wins, he's never scored over 90 points, ever. So I am big fading Arnold Allen this week. I love him to win the fight, as I said. Dan Hooker does allow 97 points per loss. I mean, how is Arnold Allen going to get there? I just don't see it. He's given us, an 8-fight sample size of statistics to look over. Has landed 3 takedowns in his last 5 fights. 2 were against Youssef in the last one. So we'll see if maybe he brings that kind of game against Dan Hooker. But then again, he took Youssef to the distance and only scored 68 points. So I'm big fading this fight, but it's mostly for the Arnold Allen side. Even though I do like him to win, he just does not score well for DraftKings. So give me Allen and Hooker as an overall fight to fade.
Nice, I like it, and that's the co-main event, so I think you're getting probably a little bit different there. I do like that call. Luke, what is your fight to fade for this week?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I think you can really make a lot of strong upside, honestly, even in the chick fights, to be honest. So it was tough. So I might be going a little off the wall here, but I'm going with Valiev and Shore. Third worst ITD line on the slate, roughly 35% implied to finish. Shore's a guy, is a DraftKings darling. Everything you want to see: strong wrestler, strong grappler. He scored no worse than 87 points in a W, but he's taken on a pretty tough Dagestani in Timur Valiev, who's historically been pretty difficult to take down, and not only take down, but hold down even when he is taken down. So if Shore can't get off on that game he historically has been able to, he's just not going to score well. It's kind of a mid-range, outside, average-paced striker with not a ton of power. Valiev has some power, but actually 61% of his wins have come on the cards, and 7 of his last 10 fights have hit the cards. He's more of a volume-based striker in the aggregate. So I'm more on the side of this fight hitting the cards, and as a result, I don't either will score particularly well. I just think there's so much more finish upside. And I think it's also an interesting take just to be underweight to the fight as a whole, because I do think Shore is actually going to be one of the more popular dogs this week based on his historic wrestling and grappling upside. I'm just not sure it necessarily translates 100% to this matchup.
Yeah, I definitely think Shore will probably be one of the most popular dogs. It looks like that line's closing up. I'll give a different one here. This one was kind of tough for me. There's a lot that did stick out. I'm going to actually go with the Corey McKenna fight going against Reed here, and I actually really like Corey McKenna to win. It's just this 9K range is something I really want to make a priority. I'd much rather go up and pay for a Paddy Pimblett at 94, Ilia Topuria at 93. A Nelson at 92, a Mokaev at 91, a Pavlovich at 9,000. I want to go up and get those guys, and I think McKenna wins, but I do want to go up and get those other guys instead. Maybe she'll be like a dart throw type situation. I don't think she'll have a ton of ownership, so maybe I'll look at her in that way. And then as far as Reed, I'm just not touching her. I don't really like her chances in this fight. So yeah, it's kind of a tough one. I'm not going to completely fade McKenna, but I do like the fighters above her a little bit more. Weezy, what's your fight to fade for this week?
So, yeah, I'm going off the reservation a little bit here as well. I'm going to pick Sergei Pavlovich versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. It's really hard to pick a fight to fade on this card. The easy answers are always just fade the women's fights. They don't have much of finish upside, but with so many juiced favorites, I believe whoever wins the mid-range priced fights have a high probability of being optimal. Shamil's almost always in slow-paced fights, so even if Pavlovich pays off his salary, the fighters priced around him probably have a good chance to outscore him. And I think that Abdurakhimov is going to get his ass shaved out there, so I don't really like Shamil's upside as an underdog either. And I mean, if you look at Shamil over a pretty large sample size in the UFC, he's around 2.1 DraftKings points per minute, so he's not the kind of guy that's going to go out there and score, even if he does have a good performance. And this guy Pavlovich, I mean, he's just a unit, and I mean, I've never seen Shamil comfortable against a big puncher in there. He just doesn't really do that. He ran from Derek Lewis the entire time that they fought. And this guy, Pavlovich is like an in shape Derek Lewis with a head like a fire hydrant. Have you seen the size of this dude's head? I mean, I don't even know how he makes 265 because his head's got to weigh like 75 pounds. And, I mean, he's got an 84-inch reach too. So, like, this is a big heavyweight in Shamil who's at like something like a 7-inch reach disadvantage here too. I don't like this fight for him. I think that maybe Pavlovich has a max of like 110 points here. So he's even a little bit overpriced at 9,000. So I'll say fade that one.
Sounds good to me. So we all gave 4 different options, which is very interesting. So next we will go to our fighter to fade, and I thought Monk brought up a lot of great points against Arnold Allen. I do think Allen will actually get some ownership. People seem to be really high on him this week, and on top of that, he is a favorite now at 8K, and that line seems to be getting a little bit wider. But yeah, you take a look at Allen's wins. I mean, 65, 82, I think that's his highest, 76, 59, 57, 77, 59. 69. These are all wins. I mean, where's the upside? I don't see him knocking out Hooker. I don't see him submitting Hooker. I don't see him taking down Hooker. I'm actually picking him to lose as well. So just no point in me playing Allen. And I think if he does win, what does he score? Like 80 points, 75 points? I don't think it's going to be enough, especially on a slate like this. So I think fading Allen is definitely the move this week. Luke, how about you? Who are you fading this week?
Yeah, I'm going Elise Reed, 7.4, seventh cheapest fighter on the slate, but has the worst inside distance line on the slate at sub 15% implied. Taking on McKenna, who's just a pretty poor stylistic matchup for Reed. BJ White belt, McKenna, pretty good wrestling grappler for the level. In that, I don't see her having a ton of issues taking Reed down, as Reed's been taken down at least once in her last 4 fights, and obviously finished on the mat in her last fight against Sajara Eubanks as well. Even if Reed was able to pull off the upset, in my opinion, it would be a moderate striking-based decision where she's still probably getting taken down multiple times, squeaking a split. So I honestly don't even think Reed would 10x in a win. I guess in theory, if all the other underdogs busted and that happened, she might have a shot. But even in a win, I still don't think she has a great shot to make the optimal. There's just so much more higher scoring potential, even at the bottom, as she's surrounded by Craig, Shore, Amirkhani. All, if they are to win, they're probably going to score well. So lastly, I think McKenna's actually sneaky alive to finish this fight too. So I do not like any of my shares near Reed at 7.4.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Monk, who is your fave for this week?
I'm going to go with Shamil Abdurakhimov, guys. Heavyweight fight, so it's probably automatically going to be a bit higher owned than maybe it should be. But this guy is 40, closer to 41 than he is to 40. 2.1 points a minute, like Weezy said earlier, only 75 points per win as a heavyweight. This is ridiculous. Going against Sergei Pavlovich, I expect this to be over quickly. Unless Abdurakhimov lands a takedown, I expect Pavlovich to eat whatever low volume Abdurakhimov throws at him and finish this fight early. His numbers are pretty staggering. Second highest pace on the card for Pavlovich, 108 points when he wins, 108 points in his one loss, though. So he did get smashed against, let's see, Alistair Overeem. That's right. Who fights Alistair Overeem in their UFC debut? Anyways, Abdurakhimov, 2 knockout losses, both in the second round, coming against Dawkins and Blades. So we are a step down, obviously, from those two guys, but I don't see how Pavlovich doesn't finish this inside the distance, to be honest. I won't have any Shamil Abdurakhimov whatsoever. Like I said, that DraftKings points per win number is far too low, especially for heavyweight. The pace he puts on is pretty much non-existent. He has 4 losses in the UFC. All 4 of them have been by way of KO TKO. I don't see how this is any different. I will be big fading the heavyweight Abdurakhimov this week.
Yep, I will be there with you as well. Weezy, who are you fading for this week?
Yeah, I fully agree with the Elise Reed fade, but I'll give you guys Timur Valiev this week. He's got the second worst inside the distance prop amongst all the favorites this week. Shore has the ability to win minutes in the clinch and on the ground, and Shore is really difficult to score DraftKings points off of him. In his 4-fight sample size in the UFC, and 2 of these fights have went to decision, he's only allowing 1.23 DraftKings points per minute. I think in a week where you need to be really cautious about how you spend your $50,000, you can't afford to overpay for fighters like Valiev. And right now, I mean, you're paying for him as a favorite, and this line might even flip. So, I mean, in terms of value, too, it's a bad move. So, yeah, I'm avoiding Valiev here.
There we go. We all gave 4 different ones. It's awesome. Let's move on to our favorite dog, and we'll start with you, Monk. Who is your favorite dog for this week?
I'm going to go the opposite side of what Weezy just talked about and go with Jack Shore. I cannot believe we're getting Jack Shore at $7,600. His average salary over 4 fights is just over $9K. We're getting him at 76 against Timur Valiev, who is a fantastic fighter, and I'm very much looking forward to this fight. But I honestly think Jack Shore has a great chance of winning. His pace is ridiculous. The 3rd highest points per minute on the card, 4.3 per minute. Doesn't quite hit 98 points when he wins in his 4 wins, but he has cleared. Let's see, his top score is 108 against Aaron Phillips in a submission. Probably not going to sub Valiev, as Luke alluded to earlier in the show, but I just love how Jack Shore scores from absolutely everywhere. Almost 2 striking points a minute, 1.5 points just from takedowns. That's the highest takedown pace on the entire card. almost 0.8 points just in control time. So even if he is able to take Valiev down and he can't hold him down, that's fine. Let him get up and keep rinse and repeat takedown, 5 points, 5 points, 5 points. That's what I would like to see in this one personally. I will be on the Jack Shore side of things, but I'll have a ton of him rostered in DraftKings. Lastly, some salary voodoo here. The $7,600 salary wins only 30% of the time, but we have an undefeated Jack Shore in this case. And when it does win, 60% of the time, it makes the optimal. This salary pair is fantastic for DraftKings, the third highest salary pair in wins, making it 62% of the time. I'll be all over the Jack Shore side, but I will have some Valiev as well. But as of now, Jack Shore, my favorite dog of the week.
There we go. Yeah, it was between him or another guy for me, and I ended up going with the other guy with Paul Craig, 7,500. Not a ton of dogs I really like on this slate, but Paul Craig, if he does win, there's a really good chance it's inside the distance. I don't see him, winning a decision. Paul Craig, a 100% finish rate. Krylov has been finished, I think, in 5 of his 8 losses, maybe 6 out of 8 losses. I know 3 or 4 coming by submission as well. So I do like the finish upside with Paul Craig, and I will take some shots on him at 7,500. Weezy, who are you liking for this week as a dog?
Yeah, the write-up I did was for Jack Shore, but I basically brought up almost every point that Monk did. So let me kind of just pivot off of that. And I'm going to give you guys McCann Amirkhani this week. The narrative of this fight is that Grundy's going to out-wrestle McCann. And McCann is a pure wrestler. He's the Finland wrestling champion. The guy is to Finland wrestling what Mike Grundy is to UK wrestling. So let me just read off some numbers here. These are the takedown attempts in Grundy's fights from the very first one to the last. 0, 1, 7, 12, 5, 2, 19, 1, 6, 9, and 7. And he's gotten 30 of those 69 takedown attempts has McCann Amirkhani. So the people who are just thinking that Grundy's going to go out there and take down Amirkhani and lay on him for 3 rounds, I hate to be the one to tell you, this is going to be a very, very competitive wrestling match. And like Monk was talking about earlier, there is wrestling upside on both sides of this fight. One guy costs like 8,500, the other one costs 7,700. I'm giving you the 7,700 as a dog possibility this week. I think that this is going to be a very, very close fight. While Grundy might be the better pure freestyle wrestler, McCann Amirkhani is the better submission grappler. So I think it's going to be very close. There are going to be some reverses. There's going to be takedowns. Both of these guys are going to be exhausted when this fight is over, but I think it's going to be close. And I think McCann's got some value here as a dog this week.
Sounds good to me. Luke, who are you liking for a dog?
Yeah, definitely a lot of volatility here, but I'm going homeboy Volkov at 7.9. The reality is he's got 4x the amount of pro experience. He's been slated in 5 5-round fights in the past, this being his 6th that he's booked for. He's fought the much better competition, and Aspinall hasn't been past the 7.5-minute mark of a fight. I know Volkov has had some poor scores in the past, but if he does win here, I feel he scores well based on the style dynamic, because I do think his finish potential is being vastly underrated here. Like, we still have no idea how Tom Aspinall reacts to any sort of adversity at all. And Alexander Volkov lands nearly 5 significant strikes per minute at a 57% clip. People say, he's only finished 45% of his UFC wins, but the guy has a 74% overall finish rate in his W. So it's like, if homeboy Aspinall doesn't go out there and nuke him, Volkov is going to come out here and pace this dude and probably finish him. It's not the first time we've seen these early finisher archetypes come out here and bust. Once again, I'm not shitting on Aspinall by any means. He could definitely come out here and smoke Volkov. I would not be shocked in the slightest, but my questions come in the sense of what happens if he doesn't, because we are now in no man's land for Tom Aspinall after 7.5 minutes. So at 7.9, I think Volkov's upside here is being disrespected.
I totally agree. I like it. I like that point. We'll keep moving on. We have our favorite GPP play. We will start with you, Weezy. Who are you liking here?
Yeah, so not quite what most people would call the definition of a GPP play here, but I'm going with Corey McKenna. I like Poppins here. She's a very sneaky play in this upper salary range. I think she'll be kind of low owned, because I think people are going to be all over Paddy. They're going to be all over Topuria. They should be all over Gunnar Nelson and Pavlovich as well. And Makayev is a name that while we haven't seen him in the UFC yet, everybody associates him with Dagestani wrestling. And, we know that those guys score a ton when they get their wrestling games off. So I think Corey, being kind of the little tiny, Welsh girl amongst all these huge finishers, is going to be ignored. But what can't be ignored is the fact that Elise Reed, just her ground game isn't UFC level at this point. And Corey's been on the floor with girls like Vanessa Demopoulos and Kay Hansen, who are grapplers first, and she did very well with both of them. This is going to be a much easier grappling match for for Corey McKenna here. And I think with her salary being where it's at, she's going to be super low owned, and I really think she has even first round finish upside here. So my GPP plays Corey Hobbit McKenna.
Nice. I like that call. I'm going with somebody else who I think is also going to get a first round finish, and it's going to be Gunnar Nelson, 9,200. There are a lot of question marks. The dude has not fought in almost 2.5 years, but his last two opponents, Gilbert Burns, Leon Edwards, this is going to be a massive step down. And I think one takedown and the fight is probably over shortly after. We've seen Sato submitted twice in the UFC, once outside the UFC. He's been finishing all his losses. I think if Gunnar gets it down, he's just levels apart on the mat. So give me Gunnar Nelson. I think first round submission upside. Luke, who are you liking for a GPP play?
I'm going Topuria at 9.3. You guys brought up a lot of good options. Honestly, I don't think there's one best choice here. I think you can make viable cases why a lot of people in this top range are great choices. But Topuria, for me, the best inside the distance line on the slate at 70% implied to finish. And the second best round one prop at 48% implied. 91% finish rate in his W's. He's got power on the feet. He's a good wrestler. He's a strong grappler. He's taken out a guy in Herbert who's a boxer, very liable at space as his guard can be worked around and is just pretty loose, to be candid. He's also susceptible to takedowns, and he's consistently get past on the ground. He has been finished in all three of his pro losses. We saw Moicano go out there and give him a lot of issues. We saw Trinaldo dust him. He just fights in a way that forces a lot of action. So I think Topuria, I should say that gives Topuria multiple opportunities to finish this fight early on the feet or on the ground. I still do have my concerns with Topuria in terms of his general gas tank. But from a DraftKings GPP perspective, in getting multiple pass to finish, I can almost guarantee that he 10X's in a win with how high his upside is in this matchup.
Sounds good. I like it. So 3 good ones there. Monk, you got to go one for us as well?
Yeah, I had Topuria, but I will switch it up. I absolutely love that play this week at 9,300 from Luke. I'm going to go with Nikita Krylov because I did not get to talk about him earlier in the first fight. Scores, as I said, 111 points per win, guys, 4 points a minute. Absolutely insane scoring from Krylov. The $8,700 salary has a win rate of 73%. And it makes the optimal just under 29% of the time in general. It's made the optimal 13 times since the beginning of 2021. Krylov as a finisher scores insanely high, 121 on average when he gets the knockout TKO finish, 106 when he gets a win by sub. Obviously, I don't expect that to happen here, but that is the highest number on the entire card. And another highest number on the card, 105 per decision win. He scores over 100 points in 7 of 8 wins. Guys, I'm going to be all over this fight, as everyone pretty much alluded to earlier. But I absolutely love Krylov. He is 2-3 in his last 5, but he lost to Jan Blachowicz, he lost to Glover Teixeira, and he lost to Magomed Ankalaev. All by decision. Well, Blachowicz subbed him, but the other 2 were by decision, and the Teixeira fight was extremely, extremely close. I really like Krylov here. I think Craig is going to have to find something's going to kind of have to fall into his lap. I think Krylov will control the pace at the beginning of the fight, but as long as he keeps his fight IQ up, I think he has a chance to finish Craig here, who has been finished 4 times in the UFC. So give me some of Krylov as my favorite GPP play at 8,700.
Yeah, I'll have my fair share of him as well. We will keep moving on. We have our favorite cash play. We will start with you, Luke. Who are you liking for some cash here?
I'm going the meatball. I'm going Molly McCann at 8.4. She's got a pretty horrendous inside the distance line at sub 20%, but she's always very unique, in my opinion, from a DraftKings perspective, because she scored no worse than actually 85 points in a decision win. Why? Because she is going to throw a ridiculous amount of strikes. She's going to land a lot of strikes, coupled with the fact that she's shown takedown upside in the past, which is going to give you some extra points as well. McCann's historically struggled against better wrestler grapplers, which is ultimately why she's, dropped her UFC fights, or I should say at least when she's lost. But she's taken on Carolina, who's a striker by trade and hasn't landed a takedown in the UFC to my knowledge. So Carolina also has a pretty poor inside the distance line. So I think you're getting general safety with McCann in the sense of her not getting finished. From a general pick perspective, she's obviously by no means a lock in any stretch of the imagination, but there are a lot of fighters around her who are very boomer bust. In my opinion, I think Molly has the best floor in this bottom 8K range, who can put up, 85, 90, 100 points, even in a decision win. So I think she's a nice little mid-tier add to your cash lineups this week.
Yep, I like it. I think that fight goes to decision. And yeah, Molly actually scores very well, surprisingly, and wins. So, Monk, how about you?
I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov as one of my favorite cash plays. He has an underdog salary this week, $7,900. He has made the optimal lineup in 1 out of his 3 fights in the past 2 years. And without echoing too much of what Luke said, because I do agree with all of his points, Volkov pretty safe in general, 85.5 points per win. Does give up a ton when he loses in the UFC, over 3 losses, 111.74. But when he loses, he scores the highest amount of points on the entire card, 47.65 per loss. That means he also has the highest floor on the entire card, making him a great cash play. He scores over 100 points in 2 out of his 8 UFC wins, but over 90 in 3 of them. So you're not getting a ton of points from him. But I do think if he can weather, as Luke said, like I said, I don't want to repeat a lot, but if we don't know what Aspinall is capable of after 7.5, and I have a feeling that Volkov's probably not going to get finished super early. It could happen, but I think the longer this goes, the better it is for Volkov. I think he has more points to just kind of, or more time to just kind of piece up a possibly gassed Aspinall on the feet, maybe get a takedown or 2, who knows? But I do love Volkov as a pretty safe cash play this week, even in a loss. And at 7,900, you're not throwing away like a ton of salary. So give me Volkov there.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to go up top and get Ilia Topuria. You guys talked about him last section, but I think he has the tools to kind of run through Herbert here. Topuria has finished all but one of his fights. The one that went to decision was against Salau here, and I think if he gets Herbert down, I think the fight will probably be over shortly after. There are some things to worry about. He is coming in on short notice. He is coming up a weight class. He's going to be at a massive size disadvantage, but if he comes in here, gets his fight down to the mat, I think he does finish it. So I'll be on Topuria, have a lot of them, and I like him in cash as well. Weezy, what is your favorite cash play for this week?
Now, I said that I was fading this fight, but my favorite cash play is going to be Sergei Pavlovich. I think Sergei really is going to shave his ass here. The first round KO is definitely in play, and he should come close to paying off his salary, even if he does, even if it drags on a little bit longer. Unless he's a completely different fighter after this layoff that he's been on. I mean, I think he's a safe pick to score around 100 points after waxing Shamil here. And I mean, he just strikes me as the kind of guy where even if Shamil blasted him in the face with a right hand, I think he'd break his hand on that fire hydrant head of his. So I don't really see any path for Shamil here. And I think it's a really safe $9,000 option where you don't have to go up to 9,500 to get Paddy or 9,300 to get Ilia. You can get a pretty safe 90 to 95 points here out of Pavlovich for only 9,000.
Sounds good to me. I like it. We're all giving some different ones today. We'll go our favorite value play here, and I'll kick this one off. My favorite value play is going to be Jack Shore at 7,600. The guy last time I checked, he was like minus 105, something like that. So a ton of money's coming in on him. I'm not sure if the line's going to flip or not, but Jack Shore, this is going to be a massive step up in competition. I'm actually picking him to lose, but if he does win, it should score fairly well. If he does win, he's not going to go out there and outstrike Timur Valiev for 15 minutes. He's going to clinch up with him. He's going to take him down multiple times and win a probably very close decision. And at 7,600, I really do like that. So a bunch of people mentioned in the chat, Jack Shore is going to be very high owned, and I totally agree. But I do think there is some value on that $7,600 price tag. Weezy, who are you liking for some value this week?
I'm going to give you Tom Aspinall this week. He's got the 7th best inside the distance line, but he's got the 12th highest salary. So you're getting a lot of price savings there on Aspinall. And in addition to that, we do know that this guy has finished 100% of his wins, and he's doing it quickly. So if he continues on the pace that he's on, he's going to score a ton of points and probably be well over 95 or 100 points that's the way Aspinall wins. So at $8,300, I think he's got a ton of value if Tom Aspinall in front of the home crowd does what he's been continuing to do thus far in the UFC, and that's starch hose in the first round. So I am looking forward to that being some value on my lineup there, Tom Aspinall.
That sounds good. Monk, how about you?
You're muted, Monk.
I think you're muted.
Sorry, thanks. I'm gonna go a little bit out of the box here. Cody Durden. Just because obviously everyone think Mikhaev, 21 years old, gonna come out and starch this dude, wrestle him to death, blah blah blah, which I kind of expect as well. Don't get me wrong, but Cody Durden, 7,100. He has the 5th highest pace on the entire card, 4 points per minute, only allowing 2.35 for a huge differential of 1.65. You're getting him $600 cheaper than his usual. He scores 93.17 points in his win, so not the highest, but still above 90. The $7,100 salary makes the optimal 54.5% of the time it wins. I just like some of the possible upside here from Durden against what is essentially we don't know what Mikhaev's going to be at this level. Everyone's expecting one thing, which is fine, and that could very well be the case, but I'm definitely going to be putting some Durden in my lineups just because of the unexpected side of things from Mikhaev and the possible takedown upside from Durden. Guy scores the 3rd highest takedown points per minute on the card at 1.35 points a minute, 0.71 control time points a minute, and almost 2 striking points a minute. These numbers are very similar actually to Jack Shore, who we've all been talking up pretty much the entire show here in chat as well. So give me some of Cody Durden just as a possible value play here.
Cody Durden, sneaky. There you go. Luke, how about you?
All right, Simpsons gives a pitchfork take here. Going Hooker at 8.2, the 13th most expensive fighter on the slate, but the 9th best inside the distance line. I just don't think it can be ignored, that he's going back down to 145 pounds here, where he's going to realize a good size advantage over Allen, 4 inches of height, 5 inches of reach. Allen's looked pretty good defensively to date, but he's also fighting the biggest guy he's fought to date and fighting the best guy he's fought to date. So I think it's going to be tough for Arnold Allen to kind of fight in his traditional tepid outside base style. Hooker has an 81% finish rate in his W's. The worst he scored was, I think, 63 points in a W, but almost outside of that, he's exclusively scored 90 plus points. So there's definitely some boom or bust capabilities here, but I think people are sleeping on Mr. Dan Hooker and getting a little hyped up on Allen being, undefeated essentially. And this is a big step up in competition. I mean, if Hooker versus Poirier is a 3-round fight, Dan Hooker has a win over Dustin Poirier. So we'll see how the kid does with the size and pressure that he's going to face in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that. I'd much rather play Dan Hooker than Arnold Allen, that's for sure. Last one, we have the dart throw. I kind of struggle with this one. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. We'll start with you, Monk. What is your dart throw for this week?
On my notes here, I have Takashi Sato written, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to go with Makwan Amirkhani here. Like we said, I think the Grundy side is going to be super high owned this week. A good salary at 8,500. He has a huge takedown upside as well. And Makwan Amirkhani is, like I said before, 1-4 in his past 5 in the UFC. So I think Amirkhani is going to be relatively low owned. So I might throw some darts here. He's got almost a 3 point per minute pace, scores 95 points when he wins. He has scored over 90 in 4 of his 6 UFC wins, over 100 in 2 of those. Only gives up 90 points in 1 of his 5 wins or losses, excuse me. So he has, when he's not getting kneed in the face, he does do pretty well for the most part. Got decision loss to Kirk, not a good look. Edson Barbosa, and then got KO'd by Burgos. So a couple of good names on there. And Lerone Murphy is essentially undefeated fighter. So I like the dart throw on Amirkhani here. Huge wrestling upside, huge submission wrestling upside. Give me Amirkhani for a dart throw.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Sato as a dart throw, but I'm going to go with, it was between him or this other guy. I'm going to go with Vince Morales, 7,300. I really do like Wood to win, but, Morales kind of has a puncher's chance. We have seen Wood hurt multiple times. We've seen him knocked out in the UFC and outside the UFC as well. I think if Morales does win, it is inside the distance. I think nobody's going to play him, so couldn't really find a one that I love this week, but Vince Morales is something that kind of stuck out. Weezy, who are you looking for a dart throw this week?
Real quick, Brady, not to cut you off, Morales is out.
He's out?
Yeah.
When
What
did that
happened?
happen?
Well, perceivably out. That's what's being reported. So
Okay.
Sucks. Is Wood getting a new opponent?
they haven't officially said anything, but because they have a Cage Warriors card this week, I'm assuming they're going to pull somebody from. I think they got 2 145s on the Cage Warriors card, so I think they're going to pull someone from the Cage Warriors card to fight Wood. But
So lock Nathaniel Wood into your fucking roster.
Oh, yeah.
at 8.9, Nathaniel Wood is going to be the highest owned fighter on the slate.
Holy shit, dude!
There you go. That changes a lot. I'll go Sato for my dart throw to potentially knock out a rusty Gunnar Nelson. Weezy, how about you? What's your dart throw?
My low-owned dart throw is going to be Nathaniel Wood, you guys. Nobody's going to own him. Nobody's going to see it coming. Your Uncle Weezy is the first to tell you. No, okay. So I think a good idea for a dart throw, because I don't like a lot of underdogs this week, is maybe just punt, right? And if you're down there with Jai Herbert or Kazula Vargas, either one of them, with Herbert, you got a guy in Topuria who's coming up a weight class on short notice, and Herbert has got bricks for hands. And with Kazula Vargas, you got a guy in Paddy Pimblett, who's just a grown-up child actor from the Children of the Damned movie, and he keeps his chin way up in the air, and he is very, very easy to hit. And Kazula sometimes just comes out like a madman swinging bombs. If there's somebody that can get hit by a bomb, it's Paddy Pimblett. And guess what? Kazula Vargas is only $6,800. So if you punt with him and take one other, underdog, you should be able to get 4 favorites in your lineup. So yeah, I'm going to go with Kazula and just hope he pulls off a miracle. I won't be counting on it, but maybe he can score some points. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think a lot of those punts down there, I think you have to sprinkle a couple of them. There's a bunch that are kind of like knockout or bust. Luke, how about you? Who's your dart throw?
So I'm actually going up top just because I think it's going to be low owned, but for a lot of the reasons that Weezy mentioned. But I'm going Corey McKenna at 8.8K. The fight has the second worst ITD line on the slate, with McKenna only having the 12th best ITD line on the slate. As a result, I think she's going to be low owned, but she has significant advantages on the ground and finish upside on the ground. Even in McKenna's last fight against Hansen, that she looked like absolute shit in, I still don't think she won the fight, to be honest, but she still scored 83 points in that win, which is a lot of points. If you go back and watch that fight, it's just kind of weird. So she still has upside, but this is a step down actually from Kay Hansen. I think you have to also contextualize the matchup a little bit. Like, the UFC is setting this up as a showcase fight for her, being one of the younger prospects in the weight class, and this card being in London in the UK, in her, quasi native European home. So I also think she has a tight floor in this fight as well, with Reed having the worst inside the distance line on the slate. So I think McKenna might surprise some people from a DraftKings perspective, because we have so many of those guys in the 9K ranges where everyone's going to look to target. But I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be a little bit overweight to McKenna. I kind of think she takes Reed down and finishes her within the first couple rounds and puts up over 100 points.
Yeah, I think so as well, right there with you. So now we will go through our lineups last week. Before we do so, if you guys can leave a like on the video, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. And if you guys have any questions, now is the time to put them in the chat, and we will get to those in a couple minutes here. But we'll go over last week. And yeah, we had last place was Uncle Weezy with Drew Dober, Alex Pereira, Mirzakhanov, Jillian Robertson, and Trevin Jones and AJ Fletcher, scoring 388.47. In third place was Luke with Ankalaev, Song Yudong, Javid Basharat, Damon Jackson, Bruno Silva, and Terrence McKinney, scoring 438.40. In second place was me with Magomed Ankalaev, Miranda Maverick, Mirzakhanov, Damon Jackson, Trevin Jones, and AJ Fletcher, 458.34. And then in first place was Monk with Ankalaev, Song, Basharat, Jackson, Canetti, great call there, and Mazza with 466.79. Monk, you get it done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Kennedy call, I loved that fight. That was fantastic. But it does balance out with my Sabino Mazo call. You never want to be talking on the Wednesday DraftKings show about how you rostered a fighter that has since been cut from the UFC or is about to be cut from the UFC after that fight. So not a great call on that Mazo. I should have played Fletcher instead. But Ankalaev really kind of eaten up a lot of that salary at 9,600. I preached don't play him this week, and then I freaking played him. So he kind of ate up a lot of that salary at 9,600 there.
Yeah, he didn't want to fight on Saturday.
No,
but,
not at all.
We'll go over the totals. We have 8 cards here, and again, last place now has to cut their hair in Paddy Pimblett fashion, which is terrifying. And right now, I am in last place, and all this is very, very close, especially after last week. I have 3,469.05. In third place is Weezy with 3,482.5. In second place is Luke with 3,493.05. And then first place is Monk with 3,538.08. Congrats, Monk. You're in first place, and your hair is not in danger of turning into Paddy Pimblett.
Thank goodness. I don't know what I would do without my hair. I tell you that much. And I just don't even know what I would do.
There you go. There you go. All right.
I guess I could get a wig. Am I going to have to get a wig and like glue that shit to my head if I end up taking a nosedive here?
Yeah, I actually sent Weezy a picture. I went shopping potentially for a Paddy Pimblett wig. I was going to wear it on my Saturday show, but decided not to do it. But there are some Pimblett wigs out there, and I think maybe the loser has to do something like that. But
the craziest haircut of all time. A bald guy should never talk shit about people's hair, but Jesus Christ, Paddy, what is happening?
Yeah, children of the damned haircut, as Weezy says. But
right?
Let's go through a couple questions here. I saw one up here. There we go. Blake's saying, what are these points you guys speak of? DraftKings points. This is DraftKings, a daily fantasy sports game. And I think that is all the questions there. So we'll go to our quick picks then. So, Weezy, do you have your quick picks? Wait, we have to give our lineups for this week. Weezy, do you have your lineup for this week?
Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm going to go with Muhammad Mokaev, Nathaniel Wood, Corey McKenna, Tom Aspinall, Jack Shore, and Kazula Vargas.
Okay, I mean, if Wood gets a new opponent, I'm going to change my lineup, but right now I'll stick with the one I have. Give me Topuria, give me Nelson, give me Pavlovich, give me Carolina, give me Shore, and give me Durden. Monk, what is your lineup?
Give me, let's see. Actually, oh crap, I think we might have the same one. I didn't hear you. Topuria, Pavlovich, actually no, Krylov, Volkov, Shore, and Durden. But if Wood gets a new opponent, I can switch out Krylov for Wood. So that is my current plan.
Yeah, I'm definitely changing mine if Wood gets some bum. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I might end up switching mine up as well. But I got Topuria, Wood, Volkov, McKenna, Shore, Craig.
Sounds good to me. And then we'll do our quick picks. Weezy, we will start with you. Who are you liking?
Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna go with Volkov. I'm going with Hooker, Pimblett, Gunnar Nelson, Molly McCann, Topuria, Amirkhani, Pavlovich, Krylov, Valiev, McKenna, Wood, and Mokaev.
All right, I'll take Volkov, Hooker, Pimblett, Nelson, Carolina, Topuria, Grundy, Pavlovich, Krylov, Valiev, McKenna, and Wood as of now, and then Mokaev. Monk, how about you?
First, I want to thank Justin Villegas in chat for getting that Monkeys song stuck in my head now. So that's fantastic. That's going to be there for quite a long time. So thank you very much. I'm going to go with Durden, Nathaniel Wood, no matter who his opponent turns out to be, Corey McKenna, Jack Shore, Nikita Krylov, Sergei Pavlovich, Mike Grundy, Ilia Topuria, Luana Carolina, Gunnar Nelson, Paddy Pimblett, Dan Hooker, and Tom Aspinall.
Are we muted? What happened here?
Am I muted? Did you hear me?
I heard you, Monk. I think
I think Luke's up now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
You guys got me?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah, Chalk Boy week for me. I'm going Volkov, Hooker, Pimblett, Nelson, McCann, Topuria, Grundy, Pavlovich, Krylov, Valiev, McKenna, Wood, and Mokaev.
Sounds good. So yeah, guys, that is about it. Interesting card, interesting drafting slate as well. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week.
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I do balls deep breakdowns of fights, and I do a full card breakdown every Tuesday at 10 called Just the Tip. Just did that last night. Broke down the entire UFC London card, all 13 fights. You can find me on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday for Stat Diggers, every Wednesday right here for the DFS show, and you can find me on Brady's channel for Best Bet 1 hour before the fights start every Saturday, and of course, as always, on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, doing content over there. That website is going to be coming soon. Can't wait to share that with you guys.
Sounds good. Can't wait as well. Luke, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week.
Yep, got the Club and Sub pod tonight on YouTube at 10 p.m. Eastern. Me and my roundtable of boys run through the card from a betting perspective. Be sure to check us out there, guys. Club and Sub podcast, patreon.com/SWR betting. Bets for weekly content pieces out there a week as well. And I know that Weezy's been talking about the size of Pavlovich's head. So I just want to give people a recommendation. You got to go out there on YouTube and look up, I think it was a clip when Joey Diaz was on Rogan's show from back in the day. He's like, Joe Rogan, you got to look at this guy, Brock Lesnar's head. This guy's a juice monkey. You got to go out there and look at this guy. It's sorry, guys, that's my best
Joey Diaz, man. That dude
guys, you got to look that up.
I will for sure.
You just got to look at like Joey Diaz like going off on Joe Rogan podcast. Like Brock Lesnar, Joe Rogan. But that's all I got. Guys.
Thank you for that, Luke. Monk, how about you? Where can they find you?
Let me tell you something, cocksuckers. I actually got to see Joey Diaz once with my girlfriend. It was absolutely fantastic. I highly suggest as well. Check me out on just type Monk MM into YouTube and click on the first thing that comes up. That's my channel. Check out the game theory video, which came out yesterday, Tuesday afternoon, where I break down all 13 or 14, however many fights there are from a DraftKings perspective, stat heavy. So check that out before you make your lineups. Check out MMA Engine, guys. As Weezy said, be on the lookout for tons of content this week. In fact, I released a salary voodoo just this morning where we talked about 3 fights very quickly in about 15 minutes from a salary voodoo perspective. And then Friday on that very same channel, MMA Engine, check out Monk and Lou's Happy Hour with me and Lou at Lou Betya on Twitter, where he gives his betting side of things. He is killing the prop game, especially in the past few weeks. Absolutely killing it. So check that out. I'll give some DFS stuff. And guys, that's about it for me.
Yeah.
At Monk Maddox on Twitter. Boom.
There we go. Yeah, Lou hit a 12-1 42-year-old first round knockout prop. That was freaking awesome.
And then he hit who was the wrestler that he hit after that?
I think a Brundage sub as well.
Brundage.
Yeah, dude's on fire. Yeah, so check out their show. They do a great job over there. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, on YouTube, DFS by the numbers, here on Pub Sports Radio, and also on the MMA Engine. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week as always, and then we have a week off, which is going to be well needed. That's about it, guys. Leave a like on your way out, and good luck for you.